So what is song mode? Song mode allows us to arrange our composition in multiple sequences into a song instead of it just being one repetitive loop of 8 bars or so. Off camera, I've created more sequences to go along with the one that I created on camera. I'll play them and let you hear them in a second, but I have a verse sequence, a hook sequence, and an intro sequence. So I'll let you hear the intro sequence first. And when I start playback, if I have the sequence selected here, and then I turn the data dial to another sequence, it will wait for the sequence that it's already playing to finish, and then it will automatically play the next sequence that I turn to. So basically, I was creating an arrangement in real time by just turning the data dial and selecting new sequences, but that is not song mode. Song mode will allow me to automate that process and select which sequence I want to play, how many times I want it to play, and then what sequence I want to happen after that sequence. So to get to song mode, I'm going to go to the menu and then I'm going to touch song. And as you can see, there are no sequences in here, so I haven't started doing anything yet, but there are 32 songs available to me. So I can have different variations of my arrangement to choose from and compare and contrast until I find the one that works best. To create a song, you have to insert sequences here. So I'm going to touch over here in the right corner where it says insert to insert my first sequence. And you can see it selected the first sequence, the verse sequence, and I can touch on where it says verse, and then I can use my data dial to change that to any other sequence that I've created and have available to me. So I'm going to scroll over to intro. And then up here by the name of the sequence, you can see how many bars the sequence is, the tempo of the sequence, and how many times that sequence will repeat. So I just want the intro to repeat once, and I'm going to go ahead and insert a new sequence. And when I inserted a new sequence, it just copied the sequence that was in step 1, and I'm going to change that to a different sequence by turning the data dial. I'm going to turn that and I'm going to choose verse. So I want the verse sequence to repeat twice. So I'm going to turn that to twice. That's 8 bars, 2 times. That'll be 16 bars. And then I'm going to insert another sequence. And on this sequence, I'm going to change that to hook. And I don't want the hook to repeat twice, so I'm going to touch there and turn it to 1. And then I'm going to go to the next sequence and I'm going to leave that on verse, but I don't want it to repeat twice. So I'm going to touch here and change that to 1. Then I'm going to hit insert again, and I'm going to go to the last one and I'm going to scroll to change that to intro, and I'm going to use it as my outro and have it repeat once. And then to hear this, I just have to press play start. Now, if I want to share this track with the world or with another individual or send it out for placement, I have to get it outside of the MPC. So to do that, I'm going to have to bounce it out of the MPC software. And in a situation like this where I have a song created, I'm going to have to convert it into a sequence before I can bounce it. So I'm going to touch Convert to Sequence. And when I do that, it's going to take all of these sequences, the intro, the verse, the hook, the verse, and the last intro, and it's going to compile it into one long sequence with all of these changes already in the sequence. So I'm going to say Convert to Sequence, and then the dialog comes up asking me which sequence to use, and I'm going to use number 4, unused. And then it's asking me what do I want to do with the muted tracks. I'm going to say include the muted tracks, but I have a choice to ignore the muted tracks if I like. But I'm going to leave it on include because I may want to use them later on in this new sequence. I'm going to touch do it, and I'm going to go back to my main screen. And just like that, if I scroll to sequence 4, you'll see from song, and notice it's 46 bars long. Let's play it. I think you get the picture. It's the same song, it's just now in one long sequence, and it's no longer in song mode. Actually, it's still in song mode, but I converted it to a sequence so that I could bounce it out. So I'm going to go to the main screen. I'm going to turn the data dial to select the sequence with the converted song in it. And then I'm going to go over into the software. And from the software, I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to come down to Export. And then I'm going to go down to As Audio Mixdown. And in my Audio Mixdown window, the first thing it asks is the audio length. And I want it to start at bar 1, and I do want it to end at bar 46. Now I can adjust either of these numbers to make the bounce shorter or longer up to bar 46. Then over here to the right, it asks me how long I want the audio tail to be. Now you need an audio tail if you have sounds that ring out past the end of the sequence, like a reverb tail or the sustain of an instrument after you take your hands off the keyboard. And I need about 4 seconds for that. Next, I'm going to choose a stereo output, and my signal is going out of outputs 1 and 2, so I'm going to leave this at 1 and 2. And I don't have any processing on the master inserts, so I'm going to uncheck this, but if I did, I could have it checked, and then whatever processing would be part of my bounce, and I would hear it as part of the audio. I'll cover separate programs, exploding tracks, export returns, and some of these advanced features in a later tutorial. I'm going to select the file format, and I'm going to choose to bounce an MP3 file, and I'm going to set the bit rate to a standard 192, and I'm going to leave the sample rate at 44.1. Now I'm going to click export, and of course it's going to ask me where do I want to export this file to. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to choose my desktop. And then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to give it a name. And I'm just going to name it BWF for basic workflow. And then I'm going to click save. So if I go to my desktop, I look here and I see the bwf.mp3 file. Let's play it. And there you have it, a stereo mixdown bounce ready to share with the world. This concludes the basic workflow tutorial. I hope you learned something that will help enable you to take your beat making and music composition to the next level. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.